If you've ever spent any time on YouTube watching videos about personal finance, you've probably seen, heard of, or at least gotten some recommended videos from Andrei Jikh. I would consider myself to be a bit of a fan of him. And if you've ever spent any time on YouTube in general, you've seen or heard of Logan Paul. So I was really surprised when I saw that Andrei showed up on Logan Paul's podcast called Impulsive. I was really excited to listen to the podcast, but there were a handful of things that they talked about that really surprised me to hear Andrei say. Even though I listened through the podcast in its entirety a few weeks ago, I don't remember all the details, so I'm going to do some reactions to the more controversial clips from that podcast here. If you enjoyed this video or any of the other CFA, CFP finance related content on this channel, I'll ask that you go ahead and like this one and also subscribe if you haven't already. Both of those things help me out and I appreciate them. Let's get into this one.
All of these people work for 10 years, 20 years to create a perfect new global currency, only to have government pass one law that says, yo, that's all ours now.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part.
I get it. And I know, and this is just me playing advocate here.
No, I got a great answer for that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is no government can ban it successfully, because where one country fails at accepting it, if the US is like crypto, you're going to go to jail. Switzerland is going to be like, come right on in.
I'm not as worried about
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why? Because they want their businesses to be built in that country. They're like, oh, economic power, more for us. Great. You up the opportunity. Now we're going to build it in our country. So the whole world cannot systematically ban it, because where one country doesn't want it, 10 others will be like, please come to us.
What about when the entire ecosystem becomes decentralized,
right?
Where that money is equal in weight in any country, and now now you have a ban that is a global ban, essentially.
It won't happen. Countries compete with each other for economic dominance. And so one country, if they ban it, another country will be like, well, if you don't want these trillions of potential dollars of business growth, we'll have it.
Okay.
So it'll never happen.
What about
that theory assumes that the ability to trade Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency will support and sustain economic activity. It would really have to become like a global reserve for that to be a requirement of the currency, right? Because you can easily operate business in the United States and Japan, for example, with people in Europe, while using the US dollar or the Japanese yen or whatever the other currency you're talking about. It would have to be a global standard for this theory, I think, to remain true. I don't know how likely that's going to be.
As long as you have your private key, which is this like string of numbers, which you could literally memorize in your head. I mean, it'd be really hard to, but you write them down on a piece of paper, you hide them somewhere. And as long as you have that number, there is no physical wallet that you could have that if you lost or was destroyed, that you couldn't recover your Bitcoin from the blockchain.
Got it.
What about hackers? And what happens if you lose that number or that number?
Then it's gone forever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
So the could really burn you. So I got it.
Wait.
Okay, that right there could almost in and of itself kill a cryptocurrency. If you think about it from a practical business enterprise environment, you're always going to have a lot of customers who mess things up, and you need a very helpful customer service or customer experience process somehow, either through good FAQs, an online bot that answers questions, or customer service reps. If someone were to lose more than $100, and certainly 10, 100,000, $1 million plus dollars, because they lost their key to a cryptocurrency, you better believe a lot of people are going to lose that key. People lose social security cards, birth certificates. People lose the most important documents out there. When people inevitably lose these keys, there are going to be huge problems. They're going to be extremely angry customers. I see that as such a massive barrier to these things being globally and widely viable for use.
So you're like, yo, these are the guys that we're trying to drain. All of a sudden they're like, Bitcoin, you're always welcome here, guys. Come on into the Senate. Let's talk about it. Like, does that scare the people that created this and getting in bed with the enemy?
Because I think they're completely clueless as to what Bitcoin really is about. Right now, all it is for most people is it's like, it goes up in value and I got rich, right? Yeah. That's all it is. But behind that, it's the most powerful tool that humanity has ever gotten. And they don't understand that yet.
The most powerful tool that humanity has ever had? That's such a big stretch, dude. I mean, even if it is globally accepted, it's not going to be that much different from gold. I mean, countries own big blocks of gold, but anyone could transact in it. and that's more similar to Bitcoin than like the US dollar. Currencies are controlled or manipulated, if you want to argue that, by federal governments and reserves and banks. So I could see that being a little bit different. But Bitcoin, in being a globally used currency, wouldn't be too much different from like gold or salt or things they've used in the past. So if everything ran perfectly, yes, it would be better than those. I certainly agree. But to say it's the most powerful tool ever, I mean, what about paper? You know, the ability for us to now communicate and store records, electricity, the ability for us to be able to do 99% of what we do now, you know, industrial revolution. That's a stretch.
So you guys remember in 2017 how Bitcoin went to like 20 grand?
Yeah, I do, because I tried to invest back then.
Yeah.
And it was too risky
Yeah.
for my financial advisors to comfortably give me my own money to invest.
Fire them all.
No,
And they didn't do it. No,
come
swear to
on.
God. And they didn't do it. And so now
I feel personally
I feel like
attacked.
I'm late.
Right. You're not late. So what in 2017, there was a lot of FOMO, right?
Yeah.
But that was from what's called retail buyers, which are people like you and me, which are relatively not very rich, not billionaires, right? And so this time, it's institutional FOMO, right? Yeah. So now you have corporations, companies that are investing 1% of their portfolio, which is billions of dollars into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Is that
That's a really fair argument. I definitely believe that prices of assets are heavily manipulated by the volume and the trading activity in those assets. Institutions coming in and buying into Bitcoin would definitely increase the volume and increase the buying activity. And from my first run through of this interview, I remember Andrei saying, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Elon Musk come out and say that Tesla was going to purchase or had purchased a bunch of Bitcoin. And then like a month after this interview came out, or maybe just a couple weeks, that exact thing happened. So Andrei was way ahead of the curve on that one. It was really kind of spooky how he predicted the future there, to his credit. And I totally agree with what he's saying there. As more and more institutions, hedge funds, endowments, companies buy into these things, it's going to increase its demand.
Where's this going, man? Give me
this-
an exact target. I need to know right
okay,
now.
that's a really easy example. So
Easy example?
I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that Bitcoin is going to surpass gold's market cap in about this decade, like in the next 10 years, the next 8 years probably.
What is that market cap? 200 trillion?
No, so gold's market cap is 10 trillion, right? I think Bitcoin's is, look it up, is it 650 billion?
That's still huge.
I think it's like 650.
And just for people who don't know, the market cap is what exactly?
It's like the combination of all the money in that
fair
space.
to say.
Okay, $350 billion for Bitcoin.
No, that's
was
incorrect.
December
That's
19.
incorrect. Yeah, it's
So
like
it's-
six. It's
yeah.
in the 600s.
Well,
So
Oh.
Bitcoin's market cap could hit 1 trillion in 2021.
Yeah, but what is it
I
right now?
see.
It's like 600. Go to CoinMarketCap right there. Yeah. 671. So divide, whoever has a calculator, divide 1,000
supply.
by 67.
I could do this.
Divide 1,000 by 67.
Divide 1,000 by 67?
Yeah, what does it say?
1,000 divided by 67. 14.9.
Okay, now multiply 14.9 times 36,000.
Yeah. That's where
He's
it's
like
going.
36,000.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the other guy.
37,313.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mom, can I have a few more dollars to put into my Bitcoin?
So
account?
that's going to happen this decade.
Oh, dude.
But that's not the end all. That's just like peanuts for now.
What?
Yeah, that's in the short-ish term.
Andrei's got to know that that's just so irresponsible to put an unbelievably crazy high price target on something that is already generating so much interest from retail and inexperienced investors. For him to say that it's going to $500,000 per coin and it's at like 30,000 per coin right now, irresponsible is just the best word to describe that. You really shouldn't be making price target calls, especially when you're not a, I guess, licensed or experienced professional. And more importantly, to such a broad audience like YouTube and Logan Paul's podcast. He might have said earlier on there in the interview, I'm not sure about this, but I think this is what's going to happen with the price. But when he made the mention of the numbers there near the end, he was speaking really matter-of-factly. It's just an irresponsible way to talk about future price targets for any financial asset. And when it's 15x the current price, that makes it all the more questionable.
It's not that wild of a pipe dream to imagine that this could actually take place. Like when you look at what's actually backing the US dollar,
Right.
which is so important to people, and they spend their entire lives trying to buy houses with the US dollar, buy cars with the US dollar. The US dollar is a piece of paper. It's backed by nothing but trillions of dollars of debt.
And the good faith
There's
of our
nothing
government.
there.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it very much is becoming more and more believable that this actually can take place. But what it does, the byproduct of this actually happening, is the destruction of the elite.
Ooh.
And I am just so curious to see how that happens and how
It's
that
already
goes.
happened.
And I know I get
so
that.
many times, right?
Yeah,
Right.
the
In
past,
history,
yeah.
we've had a transformation from, like, we've used resources like gems
Wow. I hadn't thought about that aspect of cryptocurrency before, and I just spent some time thinking about it. It made me really bullish on cryptocurrency. Then I sat here for a little bit more thinking about it, and I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe the elite will just be buying crypto anyway. But there will be some people who were not previously elite who bought it really early who may become elite, I guess. But it's a good point to say that if Bitcoin became a global currency and the world elite are questionably like good or evil people out there controlling a lot of what happens and at a really high level, world banks, the ECB, Federal Reserve in the US, whatever, people with billions and billions, some would argue like hundreds of billions of dollars. And if they didn't convert their currency, which is probably US dollars, into Bitcoin in that example, and it became a globally accepted world currency, they could have some issues. There could be a big shakeup between like Elon Musk or other companies who do have a lot of Bitcoin being like, hey, now we have the power, because money is power, certainly in that scenario. But realistically, they just have so much more money than like middle class people and certainly people in third world countries. They would just end up using their US dollars to buy cryptocurrencies. And even though if it was in the future and the cryptos were at a higher price, meaning they'd be buying less cryptos with their US dollars, they just have so many more dollars that they'd still end up with the most crypto, maybe not as wide of a gap as they had when it was in US dollars. They're still going to be able to carry over that power and influence, I think, though.
I think the biggest thing about all this is that scares me is the idea that your Bitcoin can be hacked.
Yeah, a lot of people probably feel that way.
to what capacity? Like online?
Yeah.
So just risk what you want, or don't risk any of it. It's just, my theory is if you're gonna have money, it should always be earning interest. Otherwise, you should be putting it to work.
Oh,
right?
if you're invested,
it should be earning something.
Your crypto.
But if you don't want that and you're like, I don't have the risk tolerance for it, just keep it on the blockchain.
Rather than
And
the blockchain.
You won't earn interest, but it'll be in the safest place possible.
I'm talking about not on the.
Oh, you're talking about just in general the
Yeah,
blockchain getting
yeah.
hacked, like quantum
No, he
computing?
means your
No.
account
I'm
getting hacked.
talking about like an individual targeted attack.
Yeah.
Because XYZ knows that you have a lot of money stored in your wallet somewhere.
Right.
One of your wallets.
You mean like if you get kidnapped?
Dude, I've seen it.
I mean, yeah, it happens, right?
Yeah.
That's not a knock against Bitcoin though, or the tech.
Well,
No. It
hacker
just
could get to it
scares
now.
me because it's gone
Yeah,
forever.
for sure. For sure. You just have to be smart with it and remember your stuff. Write it down.
that's got to be a valid concern. The argument from like Bitcoin advocates is, well, hey, the blockchain can't get hacked because it's just a series of records that a lot of people create together with their computers, I guess. But yeah, individual accounts could get hacked. And if you're holding Bitcoin in a certain exchange or app and your app got hacked and someone took control of that and that was your currency, I mean, I guess that's similarly as likely to like your bank account getting hacked. But with your bank account, you have like fraud departments, customer service departments. With a cryptocurrency, that doesn't exist. It is just on the blockchain, from my understanding. So getting your account hacked would be a major issue. And like Andrei said at the end there, also you got to remember your passcode. So there's just not a lot of security around this, in my opinion, right now. And that's going to be a major issue for people adopting this widely. If you've gotten to this point in the video, it means you watched the whole thing. I very much appreciate that because the YouTube algorithm loves the long watch times in terms of total minutes watched, but also just a percentage of the video. Like I mentioned earlier, if you could also like this video, subscribe to the channel, I appreciate both of those things very much as well. And as always, thanks for watching.